Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today I thought I would do a little Disney layout share. Right now is an extremely busy time at Disney. Spring break is happening and we were recently blacked out because of spring break and the parks are just packed. Because I'm a pass holder, I do avoid the parks during this time because I just don't want to deal with that large amount of crowds. But that also means that I go through a little bit of withdrawal. So I thought it would be fun to share my top 15 Disney layouts that I've created within the last year. If you follow my channel, you know that I just recently completed March Madness, which was 31 days of Disney layouts. I also created a bunch of Disney layouts last October when I did a layout a day that month as well. And I've just really wanted to get more Disney layouts completed, and narrowing it down to 10 was just impossible. So I did narrow it down to 15 and I thought that I would share them with you. All of them have process videos, so I will link all 15 of them below if you would like to check them out and get all the details. So I just thought that I would show you some of my favorite layouts as well as reminiscing back to some magical days at Disney. The first layout that I wanted to share is a birthday layout from last year. In 2024, I celebrated my birthday at Animal Kingdom. I played hooky from work and just spent the day having an amazing experience, doing all the things that I wanted to do. Spending the day at Disney is always the best way to celebrate a birthday. This particular page was created using an close to my heart workshop kit, and I was able to turn it into this very Disney themed birthday, even though there isn't a whole lot of Disney stuff to it. I did pull some things from my stash to add to this workshop kit so that it gave it more of a Disney vibe, like the magical part of my title, as well as some Mickey heads. If you haven't done the animation experience over at Animal Kingdom, I highly recommend it. There is a cast member that will walk you through creating a drawing. On this particular day, we created Piglet. It's just a fun experience to listen to an artist walk you through drawing a Disney character. On this particular day, I was able to create a little bit of pixie dust for another family. I was sitting next to a boy who was probably about 5 years old, and he was struggling with the drawing and he wanted it to be perfect. And obviously it's not something that's ever going to be perfect. That's what the great part of drawing and art in itself is all about. And I have done the animation experience a couple of times, and one of the previous instructors was talking about how when you are sketching a design, you do really light lines, and then when you find your line, you draw over that line several times to make it a little bit darker. So if you take a look at any of the drawings that are done by Walt Disney, you'll notice all of those sketch lines. So this boy was very frustrated. His mom was trying to talk to him, but you know, sometimes the parents are not the best advice to give. You know, as a kid, you don't think that your parents know everything, right? So what I decided to do was pull up a picture that Walt had drew, and I just had a little conversation with him about how Walt even made mistakes, and I put that in quotations. And that's the fun part about drawing. So I was just explaining to him basically what the artist had explained to me the last time I had taken this class. And after I was finished talking to him and I went back to my drawing, I looked over at the mom and she had tears in her eyes and she mouthed the word thank you to me. It was just such a sweet experience to be able to provide that pixie dust for the child, because after that he was so excited to draw, and at the end he even made a comment about how his drawing looked like Walt's, which I just thought was amazing. So I was so glad that I was able to provide some pixie dust on my birthday. This next layout is such a fun layout, and I love the fireworks in this layout. The detail that I was able to get with these print and cut features from Kellybell Designs was so fun, and by adding the black background to it just made it really pop and look like it came from the night sky. I did add the black background to a lot of the pieces. And then I was also pulling in a lot of bling from my collection as well. And I love the dark colors like this black paper with the fireworks as well as the embellishment pieces, along with the brighter colors of like the sparkly paper as well as the pink polka dotted paper. The photos here on the left are not that great, but these photos on the right are from Disney's PhotoPass and they are just spectacular. I love the detail that Disney was able to get in those photos. This layout here, I used Simple Stories Say Cheese collection. I believe it's like Say Cheese in the Park Fantasyland. I think this collection is so fun. I did pair it with some of my Doodlebug Petite prints to really bring in a lot of that pink color. When I think of the carousel at Disney, pink is just something that comes to mind. It just reminds me of princesses, and this particular layout just screams princesses to me. And I think that it is so fun, it's so bright, and there's not a lot of details in this one. I don't feel like my clusters are very large. There's not a lot of extra pieces. There's just enough touches in all of the different clusters to really bring in the vibe of the carousel. So this is one of those simple layouts that really let the photos speak for the layout. I had to move this layout over a little bit to the left because it is in a page protector. I love this Tom Sawyer Island layout. I think it's one of those layouts that's just so fun. I love having this large photo over on the left hand side. I did use a Doodlebug line, so I feel like this gives it a whimsical vibe that you just have from Tom Sawyer's Island. The title itself comes from Kellybell Designs. I love that I enlarged this map. I think this is like my favorite part of the layout. But then over on the right hand side, it currently is in the page protector because I have already added the flip-flops to it, but I love the detail of these 6 photos plus the 2 flip-flops, just giving it a little bit of extra detail. And I know that Tom Sawyer's Island is closing, and so I wanted to make sure that I could document the pieces that will really remind me of Tom Sawyer's Island. So while there are photos of Eli at the island, there are more photos of just the details of the island. I think I've said it multiple times, but the festivals at Epcot, to include the Flower and Garden, the Food and Wine, and the Festival of the Arts, are my favorite times to go to Epcot. And I feel like this layout just screams Flower and Garden. This collection is from Kellybell Designs, everything except for the green polka dotted paper as well as the background piece. The green polka dot is Doodlebug, and I believe this is a basil shimmer paper. For this particular layout, I love what I did with Spaceship Earth. The stitching on this is just chef's kiss, so beautiful. And then bringing in the Nice to Meet You orange bird really allows the orange to pop against this green and purple. This, I think, is by far my favorite layout that I created during March Madness. This one does have 2 flip-flops, and I think I'm going to have the flip-flop go downward, and I do have my journaling in this one. And then this one I think I'm also going to have this one go down. I think I was going to put it here. But I do have a process video where I go over where I had planned to put the flip-flops. This particular layout, I used an Echo Park collection that's not Disney related, but I feel like it was such a perfect collection for these photos. I tell the story in the process video, but pulling the sword from the stone was such a memorable experience, and having the PhotoPass photographer there to take the photos just made everything amazing. And I will shout it from the rooftops that purchasing the PhotoPass is absolutely worth it, because there's no way that I would have been able to get these photos without the PhotoPass. I have tried to pull the sword from the stone multiple times. This is the only time I've ever been able to do it. It's not something that happens very often, but being able to capture the photo from pulling the swords, thinking this isn't going to happen, it never moves, to holy cow, wait a minute, this thing is moving, looking over at my mom and Eli going, oh my goodness, this thing is really coming out, and just my facial expressions on each one of these photos, and then looking back at the photographer with a huge smile and she's able to capture that photo. I just love everything about this layout. This is one of those layouts as well that I was using up what I have, and this paper here down the edge, which you will never be able to tell, but this paper says thank you in multiple different scripts and fonts, and you can't tell because it's such a small piece that I cut out. I also backed both of these photos with that paper, and having that silver detail in the photos, it just really looks like swirls. I am definitely a Splash Mountain girl. I love Splash Mountain. And when Splash Mountain was reimagined to Tiana's Bayou, it is such an amazing ride as well. I do prefer Splash Mountain, but I will tell you that being able to have beignets at Magic Kingdom kind of tips it over to Tiana's Bayou. So this particular layout, I actually did two layouts back to back. The one was for our pass holder preview, which was us being able to ride the ride before it opened. And then this one was a few days later because the beignets were not available on the pass holder preview. So we obviously had to come back and pick up some of the amazing beignets. So over on the left-hand side, this side really focuses more on the ride itself. And then the right-hand side of the layout is more focused on the beignets. I do have a 2x3 flip-flap on this one. I actually used the fuse tool to cut this one down because it was a 3x3 and I needed it to be a 2x3. So that's going to fit right here. This collection does come from Kellybell Design, everything except for the two Doodlebug petite prints that I have up here at the top. But for this one, I love this aspect of it with the trumpet and the music notes, as well as the sequence that I added. I feel like that's just such a fun detail and really plays into the Tiana theme of the movie as well as the ride. This is another layout that is already in the page protector, so it does have a little bit of a glare to it because I do have a flip flap for it. I love using flip flaps. I know with Close to My Heart closing, there was some issues. I bought a ton of them before they closed. However, I do know that Stampin' Up! Is now carrying them, as well as Creative Memories, and sometimes you can pick them up from scrapbook.com. I will link them below, the ones that I've been able to find. Those are from Simple Stories. They all do the same thing. They just go right on the page protector itself, and it folds right over. So it gives you the extra photos on your layouts, and when you're looking at your layout, it doesn't look like there's anything here. And I did get a question once if I ever put anything to show that it is able to flip up. But honestly, when it's in your album and you open it up, it kind of opens by itself, just like it did there. So I've never really had to tell anyone that there's a flip-flap there. Most of the time it just does the work for you. But this particular layout was our pass holder preview for the Journey of Water, which is inspired by Moana, and we were told that we had to go at nighttime to see this, and I absolutely agree. It is beneficial to see it both in the day and night, but things like this can only be seen at nighttime. The water just illuminates, and it's such a gorgeous place to be around. It really is just a place that you're able to walk around and see all the different aspects of the Journey of Water, but it's so fun. I also have a QR code on this particular one. I love including the QR codes. This allows the person, whoever's viewing the album, to scan this and see my personal home videos, I like to call them. This one here is the videos that I took during our pass holder preview. And then I also link the home video at the end of my process video. So if anyone is watching my process video, wants to watch that home video, they can, because it is linked at the end of it. This particular layout, I did a lot of stash diving and pulled in a bunch of things that I thought would work for water theme. But honestly, it's the photos that do it for me for this layout. They are just so gorgeous. This particular layout is one of my favorite layouts of all times. I feel like this was the layout where I finally started to understand digital content and hybrid scrapbooking. All of these papers I printed out at home. This was before I started using the presentation paper, so I do feel like the paper isn't printed the best, but everything about this layout is just so so much fun. I love the colors from Monsters Inc. So that purple and green with the mix of the pink. They're just fun colors. And the colors also match my photos because obviously we have the purple and blue and green from Mike and Sully, but then I have on a pink shirt, which brings in the pink from Boo's door. And it's just so much fun. I actually think that the layout goes this way. Yeah, because I cut this green down in half. This is one of those where I did design this in Canva, so I knew how big these pieces could be. I love the fact that I was able to print these really large and add them to the layout, as well as having like my title pieces. It's just such a fun, bright, colorful layout. And this is also the first time that I started to play around with my photos in Lightroom and really bring my photos brighter and lighter. And I think that they pop so well on this layout. It's really sad that Mike and Sully are no longer doing meet and greets. You can still see Sully, but Mike is no longer with him. So I'm super glad that I was able to get these photos before he went away. This particular layout is one of my favorite layouts, again, for the photos more than for the layout itself. I explained it in the process video, but this is where I stayed really late at night at Magic Kingdom to be able to get those photos. Do you see that? There's absolutely no one in the background of these photos. And then also the light projection on the castle. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous photo. This collection is simple stories, but I did pull my title from Kellybell Designs. And I love the detail of stacking the clouds with this title and the castle. I could not do a top 15 favorite layouts without a layout to include Figment. He is my all-time favorite. My top 2 favorite characters are Daisy is my number 1 and then Figment is number 2. Just so many core memories with Figment, and for this particular layout, it was so fun to go hang out with my mom for the day, pick up this drink that was very, very sweet, and get a souvenir glass with Figment on it. But I do love the details of being able to layer these pieces from Kellybell Designs. I do have a tutorial on how you can do this, but it just adds so much dimension to your layouts by layering these pieces up. This layout is from the Festival of the Arts back in 2023. One of the things that you can do at the Festival of the Arts is a paint by number. So what it is basically you're given a small thing of paint as well as a paintbrush. You are given a number. So for this particular one, the number 1. And then you're told to go over to this big mural and paint your number. So Eli and I were both given 2 different paint colors, and then I think we were told to paint 4 or 6 squares, but then they also give you this bookmark that shows you what it's going to look like when it's all finished. So it's so fun to be able to say that, hey, I painted this mural at Disney, and be a part of that experience. This is also another one of those layouts that I used my silhouette, and I just love these paintbrushes. I've used this collection as well multiple times. It's just a fun collection to use for the Festival of Arts, but using the silhouette to make these paintbrushes just really adds to this layout. I know that I'm including a second Flower and Garden Festival layout in these top 15, but I am dead serious when I say that these festivals are our favorite. The Art Festival is my absolute favorite and Flower and Garden is second. And I really like the fact that I was able to do 3 Flower and Garden layouts during March Madness. And I used 3 different collections and I got such a different vibe for each one of the layouts. This one was really focused more on the food than anything else. And of course I had to include a couple of flip-flops on this one as well to capture more food for this one. I think it goes like this is how I plan to add the flip-flops, but I do explain it in the process video. This layout also has the collage photos that I recently learned how to do in Canva, and I still owe you guys a tutorial on that. I've actually worked a little bit more on the template itself so that I can have that ready for you guys. It should be up very, very soon. But I love the fact that I'm able to get multiple photos on a 4x6, not having to cut it out. I can just lay it flat on the layout. And then this really large title over here on the left-hand side does come from Kellybell Designs, and I like having that title without having to add a lot to it. All right, I couldn't have a second flower and garden without also having a second Festival of the Arts. And this one, I think, is by far my favorite Festival of the Art layout that I have created so far. There's just so many fun aspects for it. First of all, I was able to get 12 photos on this layout, which goes back to the photos are really the star of the layout, and everything else that is on your layout just adds to it. This was also the first layout where I used the presentation paper, and I do have a video on where I reviewed a bunch of different papers, but the richness that the presentation paper gives to these digital content is just mind-blowing. This is also a layout where I added dimension by popping up some of the pieces and then also adding the liquid glass. You can also use glossy accent to add some dimension to the paint pieces as well. And then adding the tiny hearts just really set this layout apart. And then the final layout that I'm going to show in the top 15, you guys know that I cannot get away with the top 15 favorite layouts without showcasing a Doodlebug layout, and that is my Valentine's Day layout. I love this layout. This collection is called Lots of Love from Doodlebug, and this is when Eli and I went to Epcot on Valentine's Day. He is definitely not enthused with these photos, but I knew I had to get these magic shots. So with me blowing kisses and the hearts kind of floating over to him, as well as that Be Mine sign with Mickey on it. And then I also have 2 photos from Snapchat that I usually tend to take on holidays as well. But these fun, bright colors of this Doodlebug collection just showcases my love for Disney. So I hope you guys enjoyed the top 15 Disney layouts that I have completed within the last year. I have process videos for all of them. They will all be linked below if you would like to get more details about how these layouts came together. And I am just getting started. I have so many more Disney layouts planned for you guys, and I can't wait to share them on my channel. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.